Well, Merry Christmas, Father's House family. It's great to see you on this. Well, I guess I can't see you. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying this beautiful, beautiful Christmas day. I cannot believe how wonderful the weather is going to be today, but I guess there's a storm coming in next week. So get a good book. You'll be hunkered down for a couple of days. Unless you have to go to work and drive in it, which is awful, but I understand that happens for a lot of people. Anyway, Merry Christmas. It's good to see you all here. I just have a couple of things to go over. Our men's group is taking off until the second week in January. So if you're interested in joining them, they'll be meeting here on Monday nights at 6:30 and on Zoom. Our ladies group is going to take off this week too, so we can enjoy the holiday season. We'll be kicking off again after the first of the year on Thursday nights at 6:30 on Zoom. If you want to be a part of that, let us know. We'd be happy to get you connected. Also, today is just our regular tithes and offerings, so you know the drill. You can go to thefathershouse.org, set it up as a one-time gift or a recurring gift. It's the end of the year, so you know this is the last opportunity to give for your taxes. So your statements will be coming out mid-January. So if you want to give today and have it be a part of that tax write-off, we'd love to accept it. Anyway, you can mail a check to the Father's House at 133 Bernal Road, San Jose, California, 95119. Or if you live in the local area and you'd like to have Pastor Carl or I come by and pick up your check or your money, we'd be happy to do that. If you want to meet us at the church and just say hello and how's everything going, we'd be happy to do that too. And that's quick and to the point today. So anyway, I'll turn the time over to Pastor Carl and see what he has to teach us today.
Well, Merry Christmas, Father's House. How are you today? I trust you're having a great Christmas celebration today. Those of you that are home, last night you probably cooked your big meal. I don't know, maybe you're cooking it again today. Heck, I don't know, maybe you're eating 3 or 4 different meals. But that's kind of the way, and that's what Christmas is about spending time together with family. Well, that's not just what it's about. We're going to talk a little bit about what it's about here in a minute, but it sure is about just enjoying life and reflecting on God. It's funny because while Penny was just talking, I was thinking about the different seasons that we so miss sometimes as Christians. I understand that we pick up the Christmas season as Christians, and we pick up the season of Easter. But like with the Eastern Orthodox Church or the Roman Catholic Church, throughout the year they have different seasons and events and things that they focus on that keep you focused spiritually in the right, your mind focused spiritually in the right place. But that's kind of what Christmas does for us today, is, as we just talked about, is it kind of just brings us back into focus, doesn't it, about our spiritual life and why our spiritual life is so important to us as Christians. So today, last week, I talked about the incarnation, that the act of the incarnation was done out of God's pure love for his creation, where the Son was sent to redeem not just humanity, but all of creation. We talked about that. We didn't talk long, and I'm not going to talk long today because I know everybody's busy during this holiday season. But I want to discuss here a little bit the meaning of Advent and what that means. And it's the idea of God with us. The Advent, when we talk about, right, the first Advent would be, when we talk about in Christian terms, the first Advent would be the birth of Jesus. We talk about the second Advent of being the return of Christ, or his coming again at a future date. But I want to talk a little bit about this idea, this notion of Advent, or God with us, because that's really what it entails. It entails that in this Christ child that was born in this little manger in Bethlehem, that there was the coming of God, where both humanity and divinity met in this little child, this baby child called Jesus. And so it was God with us. And in Jesus coming and being the Messiah, the promised one from God, he was the one that would save his people from sins. And people saw him that he was going to be a mighty ruler, because God was going to avenge the injustices done to the oppressed of the land. And so we have this idea where people wanted this Jesus child, this Christ child, to eventually grow and to overcome the oppressors in the Roman government. And yet come to find out that the Advent and that which Christ did was never designed to be brute force against brute force, but it was about the presence of God in the midst of systems of oppression and in the place of the poor and marginalized. So I wrote this thing today, wanting to bring it present, the idea of the Advent present to us today. I wrote this little thing last night as I was thinking about what Advent means to us today in the United States, in America, but also not just, well, today in the United States, but more focused on really the border of El Paso, Texas. And I'll read this, and it really has to do with, I was watching on a news channel a couple of days ago about the running over of the border of people coming from Central America and from South America to get into the United States. And thinking today about those people that have left their homes, left their families, have left all to come to the United States, and the desperation that they must have in order to make that dangerous journey. And to think that tonight they're going to be asleep on the streets in El Paso, not just El Paso, that could be symbolic for anywhere where the homeless of those in this plight of migration into our country find themselves tonight, on this Christmas night, the night before the birth, which would shortly happen even in the evening or in the twilight of the night. It makes me think about them and about where they are tonight. Without homes, many without shelter, many will not have a Christmas meal tonight. They won't open a Christmas tree. They won't be with their family and friends. And so with that, there's the idea in the midst of that of where are they? But more importantly, in the Advent, where is God? So I wrote this in reflection. It's not a political statement. I don't mean to make it a political statement. It's a statement that has, I think, deep Christian or profound Christian ideas and thoughts about what the Christian position is. You see, you and I can't change what's happening in our society with the migration from south of the border. That's done at political levels, places of power that you and I have no control over. But I wrote this as a Christian thinking about those people that right now have no home and no place to be on this very night. It's entitled Advent at the El Paso Border, and it reads as follows. Recently on network news channels, there were reports of thousands of migrants fleeing their countries to seek a better life in North America. With dreams of welcoming people, ample opportunities, and a chance for a good and stable life, they have left their nations, cities, friends, and families. However, this begs the question, what was so terrible about their former lives that would necessitate such an uprooting? One could attempt to answer, but each has a story to tell. Perhaps the most profound question concerning their plight is why the white evangelical church has ignored their plea for consolation. Is it because we have bought a gospel message that excludes the poor and oppressed? Do we fear that they are all drug dealers or gang members? They will clog our hospitals and educational systems so that we cannot get the care we North Americans so deserve? Whatever our reason, I call it into question. It is called into question because tonight, the night we celebrate Advent, there are innocent women, children, and men on the border of no man's land who are nestled down in the frigidity of this Christmas night asking, God, where are you? They are not the first to ask this question. History has witnessed the same question asked of the Jews at the time of the birth of the Christ child, Africans on slave ships, and those tied the whipping post in America. It is Elie Wiesel in Auschwitz, as a fellow Jewish inmate asks where God is when a 13-year-old boy is hung to death, grasping to life for 30 minutes. There is the slaying of Gandhi, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., the Jesuit martyrs of El Salvador, and others. But the inquiry, as the song goes on, where is God? The question of where God is can quickly be answered, but the truth is hard to swallow. It takes the wisdom of the divine to understand. He is with them, the oppressed, and broken. As he was present with the Christ child, he was present with the Africans in their violent oppression. He was with the young man in Auschwitz, and yes, God has missed our white evangelical Christmas party to be present at the El Paso border tonight. The reason he has left is that we have misunderstood the heart of the Father. Perhaps one of our own can explain it to us. The people of this land have practiced oppression and committed robbery, and they have wronged the poor and the needy and have oppressed the sojourner without justice. I have searched for a man among them who would build up the wall and stand in the gap before me for the land so that I would not destroy it, but I found no one. This Advent night, I pray that he would find more than one white evangelical to stand up for the oppressed and marginalized in the world. Nevertheless, the most crucial question is, will you say yes? The reason that I wrote this is because when we think about the Advent, and we think about God coming to dwell with man, when we look at the message that Jesus sent throughout all of the Gospels, it always had to do with the freeing of oppression, of taking care of the poor and the widow, and also of the foreigner, the immigrant, who has no place to lay his head. Jesus Christ, in some ways, was a foreigner and an immigrant on the day that he was born, his family as well. They were no longer in their hometown, and they were on a way and onto a journey and into a place that was unfamiliar to them. And yet at that very same time, God, in the human form, became man and dwelt among us. It was God with us at the place when Jesus Christ was even born without a home, so to speak. So today, as we think about the Advent, we think about Christmas, and we think about all the things that we have and all the dreams and aspirations that we have, I think it would be wise of us to pause and to think for a minute of those that have not, to somehow have a Christian heart and have a Christian soul that would seek to understand where they are and why they want something better. The Christian message is always one of hope. It's always one of faith. It's always one of love. Whenever we distort it and make it something other than that, then we distort the very reality of what Christ came to accomplish on this planet. I hope today you'll find your heart wide open to others. I hope for the rest of the next year, going into the next year, that you'll have your heart wide open to understanding the plight of people, to have some compassion. Maybe we'll be compelled to raise a voice on their behalf to make sure that they don't suffer another Advent without a meal, without a home. There will always be people without meals and homes on this Christmas day. But at the same time, if we look and pray and become active participants in making a better world, we'll find ourselves involved in the very work of God. God bless you. I hope you have a great Christmas, and I hope you'll keep others in mind during this season. May your family be well, and may God be with you. Have a great day.